Welcome into a Memorial Day edition of Double Nickel. That photo that you see in the thumbnail was sent to me by my son. He's in Boston this weekend, and it shows, as you can see on that lawn, 37,000 American flags. They all represent the service members from Massachusetts who have given their lives for our country from the Revolutionary War to the present. And that photo really resonated with me. Memorial Day hits a lot different at 55 than it did for me at 25, because as I get older, I realize that sacrifice reveals to us what is truly valuable, what matters. Because nobody sacrifices deeply for something they believe is meaningless. Sacrifice is attached to things that we value, things that are important to us. So today I want to honor those who have fallen. Memorial Day is about those who will never come home. And as a veteran myself, this holiday is deeply meaningful to me. It's far more than just a day off from work to barbecue or watch a race or spend time with family. Those are all fine activities, but the true meaning and the nature of this holiday is significant, as it has us reflect on and think back on those who made the ultimate sacrifice for us. The freedoms and the opportunities that we enjoy today, they were purchased at an extreme and precious cost. And it got me to thinking about the question of this video, the title, what are you sacrificing for? Because you see, we're all sacrificing for something. Parents, they make sacrifices all the time for their children. As Memorial Day represents to us, service members sacrifice for our country. Even those who don't give their life make sacrifices for the country. But as a worker, as an employee, maybe as a business owner, what's the sacrifice for? What is really the point? What's the ultimate goal? And it can't be, I don't think, to see who dies with the most toys or ends up with the largest bank account, highest net worth. It's got to be far more than that, or it's just utterly empty. If the why is answered in those ways, it's meaningless and pointless, I think. If you think about sacrifice, that's really an investment, and you give up something in a sacrifice now because you believe something will be brought about later that's of greater worth, or makes the sacrifice worth the trade to you. That's what sacrifice is about. And to have meaning, I think there has to be something on the other end of it. There has to be something attached, or it's a moot point. So sacrifice has no goal if there's not an outcome in mind. And if you think about that, or I think about that, my wife and I, we've worked very hard and we've planned. We believe that it matters what we're trying to achieve. We sacrificed for years. We did that, and we have taken that approach because we believe sacrifice matters, planning matters, responsibility matters. Those are important things. We believe in those. We've never had toys. We've never had a boat. We've never had a travel trailer. And just a recent episode, I asked some questions about that. I'd love to hear from you if you have considered a travel trailer. I mean, we've just never owned those things. We had a four-wheeler once for a while, and it was pretty basic. We ended up selling the thing. It was kind of the only toy we ever had. But what we did is we traveled with our son as much as we could, maintaining that balance of living for now while preparing for the later. We were making sacrifices, though. We were making sacrifices in the present for a goal that we thought was worthy later on. I want to be sure, though, to point out to you, and by no means are we wealthy. We've reached a point where financially we are going to be able to retire, but money was never intended to be the destination. It's not the goal. It's not the point for us. We intentionally tried to make those memories along the way that I talked about earlier. We took trips at every opportunity with our son and with family and friends, others. Went to lots of sporting events. I mean, we've by all means not sacrificed to the point of having some kind of an empty lifestyle. We have invested heavily in the memories, in the moments, and in time. But we've set aside a lot of things that we could have done that others have chosen to do, that we chose not to do. And it was never the goal, like I said, to just pile up assets. We wanted to have purpose in what we did along the way. And I believe that's worked out. And we talked to our son, there's all these places he's been. He remembers so many things that happen on trips. We remember them. They're funny stories that we get to tell at holidays sometimes, or when we're on another trip or a vacation, we recall an episode from the past. So those investments, I think, have already begun to pay off. Those sacrifices that we made not to have some of those things along the way allowed us to do two things: to invest for the future, to sacrifice for the future, and at the same time live for the present. So we didn't wait until retirement to start living. The goal hasn't just been to build accounts. The goal has been to build a life. And we think about financial resources as tools. They're a means to an end. But tools, if you think about it, tools are meant to build something. There's a point to them. And when I think about this, I like to think about the gardening illustration. When I consider retirement is kind of like just the bloom, you know what I'm saying? But for us in our life, the flower was planted almost 32 years ago. We're going to celebrate our 32nd anniversary this summer, if we're given that time. And we planted then, and we've been working on and nurturing that plant ever since and growing it along the way. And as we did that, the goal was to reach this time in life that we're approaching, and that's the bloom. So that's the illustration I like to think about, nurturing this plant along the way for the bloom. It's certainly not an end. It's not a negative thing to me. It's surprising to me how people sometimes react to you when you tell them you're going to retire and you're not 65. They kind of give you the side eyes, which is unusual to me, but certainly it happens. But it's been our goal, it's been our plan. We did this with an end in mind. Those sacrifices over those decades were intended to create margin in this next season of life that we're about to enter into. So we've been fortunate enough, blessed enough, that the sacrifice has just about reached the point where it's yielding the payoff. That it now shifts for us from primarily building assets to very intentionally and purposely building memories. That's what we're about to be focused on. And it's an odd change. We talked about it a little bit over the weekend with some family, and my wife and I talk about it frequently now, trying to figure out next steps. Future episodes will talk about some of those other decisions that we're facing beyond just, hey, how are we going to slow travel? There's a lot to it, and I'll share some of that later that we're going through. But as I think about how this holiday has meaning for us as Americans, and we remember those who made the ultimate sacrifice, that's reminded, those sacrifices are remembered. We look back upon them because they were things worth sacrificing for. And those are the things worth remembering: our freedoms, our country, our nation. That we have all sorts of issues, but I wouldn't trade where we live and what we have for anything else on the planet. It's imperfect by all means, but it's better than most people experience. As I move toward retirement, I like to think about what I'm trying to focus on now, not just on building wealth or assets anymore, moving away from that phase of life to building a life filled with faith, family, meaning, and memories, and things that are going to last. So, like the episode title ask you, I want to ask you again: what are you sacrificing for? What are you investing yourself in? What is your goal and your objective and your outcome? And are you striking the balance between the now and the later? Are you looking at it like I described with the illustration of the plant, or have you planted the thing and are you nurturing it, looking forward to that bloom? There's joy and there's blessing in the memories as you nurture that plant along the way. You can live for now as you prepare for later. And when you do it that way, for us anyway, it feels like to me that it's an increasing level of joy and contentment and peace in life, because we've enjoyed how we've lived, but there are greater levels of enjoyment along the way as life moves along. So anyway, I hope that this has been meaningful to you. If you're a veteran out there, thank you for your service. If you're a family who has lost a service member for our country, thank you most of all for that, and know that there are plenty of us out here that are very grateful and thankful for that sacrifice. Until next time, we'll see where Double Nickel takes us.